John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. So the whole Christian church is going to say that, hey, these verses, it tells you that Jesus is God. Right? That's their whole doctrine. Right? Ask them, like, if, like, what must I do to be saved? And you basically have to believe that Jesus is God. But Yeshua even gives you a different answer when asked the same question. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Okay, so everything was created through Yeshua. And you learn in Revelation 3, it's 2 or 3, and in Colossians 1, that Yeshua was the beginning of the creation of God. And so that means that Yeshua can't be God if he was created, if he had a beginning. And so you might say, okay, well, John 1, it tells you clearly that Jesus is God, right? It says the Word was God. Well, even if you check this word for God, right, it's just divine, right? Because he was an angel, right? That's how God created him. And then he came as a man, right, here on earth. And then when he rose again, he was like the angels. And so now you go to John chapter 20, right? So this is the second to last chapter of John. And so, right, everybody talks about, oh, there's this doubting Thomas, that he didn't believe that Jesus is God, or whatever. So, starting from verse 24, but Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yeshua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my side into his side, I will not believe. And after 8 days, again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yeshua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, peace be unto you. Then saith he to Thomas, reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said unto him, my Lord and my God. This is another verse that Christians will use to say that Jesus is God. But you don't realize that it's telling you that he sees Yeshua and that he sees God in Yeshua, because God rose Yeshua. Right? If God is dead, then God can't raise God. Doesn't make any sense. But if Yeshua, the Messiah, the Son of God, is dead, then God can raise his Son. And so even John tells you, right, what's the point of me telling you all these things, right? I wrote in John chapter 1, it seems like I'm saying that Yeshua is God. And I even wrote this thing about Thomas, and it seems like Thomas is saying that Yeshua is God. And so is this really the message that you're supposed to be getting out of this? That Yeshua, you say Jesus, but that's not his name, but that Yeshua is God? Let's see. Yeshua saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. And many other signs truly did Yeshua in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that ye might believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that believing ye might have life through his name. So John wrote this whole thing, right, and all these other things that Yeshua did were also that you know that he is the Son of God. Not God, but the Son of God. So now let's hop over to Colossians. Okay, so this is basically quoting John chapter 1 about all things being created like by Yeshua. It's actually crazy. So you get that in verse 16, but you got to read verse 15. Who is the image of the invisible God? Right? God is invisible, you can't see him, and he's the image of him. Right? He isn't God, but he's the image. Right? Just as a tree has a shadow, the shadow is not the tree, but it's an image of the tree. So you got a good idea of what the tree looks like. And so through Yeshua, you're able to get a good idea of what Jehovah is like, because Jehovah's Spirit is in him, just as Jehovah's Spirit is in all of his watchmen that are rebuking you day and night. So, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? Right, so Yeshua is the firstborn of every creature. Right, that word creature is creation. Right, he was the first thing that was created in God's creation. Right, let there be light. That was Yeshua being created. Right, Yeshua tells you that he is the light of the world. He's telling you that he was the one that was created at that first day. Because the sun and the moon, right, S-U-N, that wasn't created until the fourth day. So what was that light that was brought forth on the first day? That's Yeshua. And that's how he's able to bring forth all these other things through Yeshua. So again, verse 15, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created. Right, so now just bring these verses back over to John 1, right, and you just get plainly that it's not what you think. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. So, like, that's pretty simple. And so now then you have to ask yourself, okay, who is this Jesus guy that says that he is God that's in all of the Christians' hearts? Well, this is in 2 Thessalonians 2. You're told that a falling away has to happen first. Then that son of perdition, that man of sin, must be revealed, who is sent in the temple of all the Christians. Right, your temple is your body. He sits in your heart, and you say that he is God. He sets himself in your heart as being God, showing himself that he is God. That Jesus guy is Satan. You've believed a lie. You had pleasure in this unrighteousness. So quit twisting the scripture and actually worship Jehovah, right? Because you put Jehovah in the basement, you don't even mention Jehovah in your churches anymore. I don't know when the last time was that you did. You never even mentioned Yeshua's true name. Because it ain't Jesus. That's that false name that the Bible prophesied about. The name of Baal.